At the conclusion of 2017, I hoped 2018 would be a better year. I never knew it would be a year of new beginnings. Nothing could have prepared me for what was to come. 2018, the year everything changed.
Twenty 2018 began much like 2017 ended. I struggled with my computer science classes at UW Tacoma. I persevered and passed my difficult C programming class. In February, I turned 21 years old. I celebrated by visiting a casino, playing slots, and taking my first shot. Yes, my first shot. I also started working out again and taking better care of myself. The month culminated with a surprise snowstorm, which dumped inches of snow and made for some incredible photos. When spring arrived, changes began to take shape. A discussion about the family moving to a new state became serious, and my dad applied to transfer to work in Utah.
I'm kind of scared, but slide to take off.
I flew my drone for the first time and began experimenting and trying to push my limits when it came to videography. I'm still not great with the drone, but I'll get there. In May, everything changed, and my year truly began. My dad moved to Utah to start work, and our house was put up for sale. The idea of leaving my home scared me, so I wanted to make the most of my final summer in Washington. After spring quarter at UW-T, I dropped out of college. With the start of summer, I had the chance to explore Washington's Olympic Peninsula. This is Kimmy. She's been my friend for 16 years. Together, we set off on a road trip. We visited Port Angeles, and then stopped at Olympic National Park to see Solduck Falls.
Here's another view of the falls from this side. There's the bridge we were standing on earlier, where I took some shots.
We stayed the night in Forks, but not before stopping at La Push to watch the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. The next day, we hiked in the Hoh Rainforest at Olympic National Park. It was a fun adventure to start the summer, and it only got more interesting from there. Justin and I went on a few hikes at Mount Rainier National Park, such as Carter Falls, Rampart Ridge, and Snow Lake. Then, it was time to visit a new state. Justin and I set off on an 11-hour drive to visit my dad in Utah. It was my first time driving that far, and things quickly got off to a bad start when the car started having trouble halfway at the Oregon-Idaho border.
There's my car. Should have been able to make it. It's new. On a U-Haul dolly. Here in middle of nowhere, Ontario. Getting in the truck now.
My dad had to drive up from Utah to tow us down and have the car looked at. And then we finally started our Utah adventure. I'd never been to Utah, my future home, and I was eager to explore. On day one, we drove through the area, looked at Pine View Reservoir, and headed north to see Logan Canyon in the Cache National Forest. Day two brought us to Antelope Island State Park, where we got our first glimpse of the Great Salt Lake. Bison and antelope roamed the island, and a few came close to the road. Afterward, we walked downtown Ogden. The next morning, we started the return journey before sunrise. No one saw any issues with the car, and we determined it must have been bad fuel. We wanted to stay longer, but the following day we had a once-in-a-lifetime event to see. July 21st and 22nd marked the two-night sold-out Candlebox concerts at Seattle's historic Paramount Theater, celebrating the 25th anniversary of their first album with the original lineup. The opening acts, Green Apple Quickstep and Sweetwater, were also Seattle area bands from the 90s. The July 22nd show was amazing, and I'm glad that we got to see the original Candlebox lineup perform their first album in its entirety. By the time August arrived, I'd lost 30 pounds since the start of the year as I worked to be more active and eat healthier. For the remainder of my final month in my home state, we went on a series of midnight hikes at Mount Rainier to stargaze. On the 12th, we made a trip to Seattle to see our favorite places in the city. Washington Park was beautiful as ever and quieter than usual. We went to the legendary Dick's Drive-In and ate along Lake Union at Gasworks Park. We said our goodbyes to the Emerald City and prepared for the big move. We were supposed to move to Utah on August 20th, once the house closed, but due to circumstances beyond our control, it didn't. We'd already packed up most of our stuff, so we left the night of the 21st. Leaving was hard. Washington was the only place I'd ever lived. I'd spent 21 years living in the same town and zip code. To leave everything I knew behind was scary. When we arrived in Utah on August 22nd, we still couldn't get the new house, so we all had to sleep in the tiny apartment my dad had been renting while all of our stuff sat in trailers in front of the new house. When we finally got in on the 23rd, we realized just how much work needed to be done on the house and just how filthy it was. Thus began months of cleaning and home improvements, which is still incomplete. Living in Utah is different. It's going to take some getting used to the climate and the area, but this change of pace has given me the opportunity for some new adventures. Since the move, I've explored the Wasatch Mountains, including Park City, attended the grand opening of a new theme park, and visited yet another state, Wyoming. As fall quickly turned to winter, the snow began to fall, and Utah became a winter wonderland. As I think back on my year, I wonder how it turned out the way it did. How did a 21-year-old Washingtonian end up in Utah? My future seemed so certain, but now I'm going wherever this new adventure takes me. 2018 was a year of change, and a year of taking chances. Only time will tell if this decision was worth it. Bye.